All right, so I think we're live. Let me know. We're trying out a new setup here. You guys let me know if you can hear me okay. Hopefully, with this new setup, we shouldn't have nearly the issues we were having before with lag. Cool. Sounds like I can hear myself okay on the phone there. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. And let's do some hellos while people are coming on in. So as always, welcome everybody. Here, let's do this actually. Let's switch over, and we'll do a proper hello here. We'll come over and let's see if I can get this thing to work here. We go like this. Right, yeah, okay. Well, welcome everybody to Woodland Pools. Welcome back to another one of our live Cardano Q&A live streams. We do this every 2 weeks on Wednesdays, and every time that I'm going to do this, I always forget to have ready the next date for our next one. So if you're watching us on the replay, our next one will be on October 6th at 6 p.m. Eastern, 2200 GMT. And those of you that are with us right now live, welcome. We're really excited to have you. Go ahead and drop in the comments where you're joining from and any questions that you have. We'll go for about an hour today. It's what we normally do. And we'll answer any questions that you have about Cardano, cryptocurrency, anything in the ecosystem at all. Let me switch back to my screen share here. Hide this. Go back here. Great. So let us know any questions you have about anything going on right now. We have a couple of things pulled up here in the meantime as well. We've got, as always, the stuff pulled up for ADA Pools, Pool Tool as well, and pool.pm. We've got the IOHK blog. If you have any questions with wallet stuff, we've got Yoroi and Adalite pulled up as well. So yeah, let us know where you're coming in from. Okay, sound is good. I appreciate it. Yeah, so we're doing, we changed up a couple of things here. We've been using StreamYard for a long time, but that was giving us trouble with lag when we were trying to do a lot of things at once. So right now we're trying a different setup. So let's see kind of how it goes. So far it seems so good, but let's let's see how it is. So let's do a couple rounds of hellos here. So Brock says, what? Let's go back to $3. Glad you're excited, man. We're all in it for the long haul. Skylace from Quebec in Canada. Very cool. Oh, hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it. So yeah, so that's we've been messing around with a couple different things, and we recently added the old green screen. You will see it's mostly neutral with this wood paneling around us here is what we're gonna go for probably on most days. But yeah, we get to play with it a little bit every now and then. Cool. Also another one in Canada and Utah. Very, very cool. Yeah, well, welcome from Missouri. Glad to have you. No, we're just using regular OBS, and we're able to kind of get it working that way. I feel like StreamYard is what people use that maybe aren't tech savvy enough to be able to do everything through OBS. And so when I just set some time aside and looked into it and finally got everything working in StreamYard. So that's good. And hello in Missouri. Cool. So let's do this. What we'll do is, well, I'm not sure. Well, actually, we'll start off. Let's ask this: how many here have registered for the Cardano Goguen Summit that's coming up? It's going to be this weekend. We're going to be there at the Wyoming one. So if we come and we scroll down here to register now, there's all these meetups are going to be in person: Berlin, Cape Town, London, Miami, New York, and Wyoming. We will be at the Wyoming one, but you don't have to actually go to any of these in-person ones. They'll be streaming the whole thing worldwide. All you need to do is register, and then you'll get a link to do that. So yeah, so let us know who's actually coming out and going. We're going to be there. We're really excited to check it out. I think it's going to be a really good time. So let's see here. We got someone tuning in from British Columbia, and we have a question from Brian. A question regarding the summit. I wish to go and have registered a few times, but every time I register, I get nothing in return. Can anyone show up? If I drive 500 miles, will I not get in? So, Brian, are you trying to get into the one in Wyoming? Is that what you're referring to? If you are, let me know. I can send you a link to where to register for that. So, either way, let me pull this up for you, Brian. Well, yeah, so let me know if it's the Wyoming one that you want to go to. And either way, it's a good time to mention our Telegram group. So for those This is the Woodland Pools Telegram group. For those that want to join us and chat in real time and don't necessarily want to wait 2 weeks to do it, you can join us in our Telegram group there, and we can chat more in real time and sort of answer any questions that anybody has like that. But yeah, so let me know. All right, so Skylace totally gave up on Daedalus. Yeah, so Daedalus is something that Charles and the team has known for a while is a thing that they need to improve upon. Basically, if you think about the way Daedalus is right now, it's a fully running Cardano node. And with all of the things that have been coming out over the past year and a half with the Shelley era and proof of stake, and then with Catalyst and being able to vote from Daedalus, and then everything about it is not just voting from Daedalus, and all these things has to have from the Daedalus software wallet, and then also support for Ledger and Trezor to be able to do staking and voting. So all of that in, and then now smart contracts, and then upgrading Daedalus to be interfacing in the Alonzo era and being able to run there. So the focus on Daedalus this whole time has been a lot of, let me make sure I got the, yeah, okay, cool. Want to make sure your question was on the screen for those that are joining me mid-ramble. So the focus on Daedalus up until now has been a lot of mainly just functionality and sort of keeping up with the pace of releases that have been going on. But Charles has mentioned on more than one occasion that now once we get past the summit and all of the really big functionality that is coming out in the Goguen era is out, then now we're going to see a lot of the different teams working concurrently in parallel, working on optimizing their individual tracks. So for example, now that Alonzo is out and smart contracts have launched, there's still, as we showed, let me see if I can actually pull this diagram up. Give me 1 second. There's still, if we remember, 1 sec, let me pull it for you guys, this diagram about the different Alonzo components. This one. Yeah, cool. So if we remember this guy, the Plutus Alonzo components, great, you can see that. What we launched with Alonzo was all of this stuff on the right, the Cardano node, the Ledger, Plutus Core, the interface from the Ledger into Plutus Core, and then here, this wallet backend is what they had to do with Daedalus to be able to get that up and running. And so all of these things sort of in this backwards L shape right here are the things that launched on September 12th. But a lot of these other things, and most notably the Plutus application backend, and all these other things to help developers be able to write and deploy code more quickly, and with less of the really low-level stuff, that's all going to be coming out. So if we think about it from the Goguen standpoint, right, of smart contracts and all these things, a lot of this other stuff here is still now going to continually be released and sort of let out into the ecosystem to continue improving smart contracts. And this whole time while we've been doing this, let's not forget that the Shelley era, we moved into it probably at this point now almost a year and a half ago. It was like June of 2020. And even then, if you noticed from our weekly updates and stuff like that, we have a lot of things that we're continually talking about that are more Shelley era things. Like for example, if you remember from our weekly report from about a month ago, when we were talking about peer-to-peer communications and relay nodes finding each other dynamically on the network, right? All of that is Shelley era stuff. And so even though proof of stake and Shelley era is sort of, we're fully into that era, there's still work being done. So this is sort of the way to think about it, is that all of these different big releases are not just sort of a one and done. We've got the Shelley era came out, and there's still subsequent things that can be done there to continue improving proof of stake, of which a non-trivial one is the reevaluation that we know they're going to do of the different protocol parameters of A0 and ONK and some of the other ones, and we have videos on the protocol parameters. But so all of that going on there, all of these things that we see here going on with the Alonzo sort of Goguen phase, right? Continuing releases. And then additionally, what I'm getting at with all of this is that additionally, the Daedalus team is now also going to be continually making releases that are both keeping up with functionality, but also just improving their own performance as a wallet. And so that's something that Charles has already talked about, that once all these big things are out, which they are now, and once we get past the conference, then that team is going to be focusing a lot more on performance improvements, specifically for Windows, but across all platforms. And then once we see things like Mithril, which we talked about in a previous weekly report, let me hide this guy. If you guys remember from our previous weekly report, this one, where we talked about Mithril, the idea about being able to do you know, light but strong, right? Light clients that can still be really secure and don't have to rely on a remote server. All of these different things are going to work together to make Daedalus more bearable. So, you know, for those that are kind of in that same spot where it's a bit of pain right now for Daedalus, totally feel you, but it is on the roadmap to improve that. And in the meantime, especially if you're using a hardware wallet and you're just pairing it, your ROI might be a good way to go. So, cool. So let's see what we got here. Let me move some of the stuff out of the way. I've got like too many things on this window here. All right, so of our folks here, we've got, yeah, so Brian, you're talking about going to Wyoming. Okay, cool. So for those that were trying to go to Wyoming, I don't want to drop it just into like this live stream here, but if you join our Telegram group, anybody that wants to go to the Wyoming meetup and for whatever reason isn't getting a link or whatever, first off, make sure that you say that you are interested, that you are interested in attending in person. Click on Wyoming. Actually, maybe this will just pop up. Let's see where it sends us to when we click on it. Let's let that load up, if it ever does. Oh, perfect. Okay, great. Yeah, cool. So actually, great. I didn't want to necessarily send this out, but yeah, they're doing it right here. So this, Brian, is where you need to come to. And there's 655 people confirmed right now. So let me, so Brian, those were great. Link for the Cardano Gogan Summit in Wyoming. If you go there to that meetup page, you can go there on that meetup page and register there. And this is like on Meetup. This is the event in Wyoming. So if you sign up here and you get a confirmation, then you're good to go and you can make the drive. If you look, there's a lot of people who have asked similar questions. Here we go. Here's perfect. Here we go. This thread right here is basically what you're talking about, right? So let me, for those that are just joining us now, here was this question, right? Like if I drive 500 miles, am I not going to get in? So if we look here, Matthew was asking the same thing. I got the email that says there'll be 1,000 lucky people, but I was just able to register below and it says you're good, so am I good? And so here's IOHK. If you register on this page, then you're good to go. So I think seems like a classic sort of like miscommunication from whoever it was that set up the website and the people actually running the event. But if you come to the Cardano Summit page, and I wonder now, I bet these are all just like this, where it'll just take you straight to the meetup page, which would be really cool. So let's see, I just opened up Miami in the background here, so let's see if that does the same thing. Yeah, okay, great, same thing. Okay, cool, so if you go to the Cardano Summit page, and you go to any of these here, oh yeah, well I'm an idiot, I should learn how to read. This takes you straight to the meetup page. And then if you go to that city that you want to go to, you just go to the meetup event for there, and then just register, and then you're good to go, and you'll be able to go there. So you're good to go there, Brian, if you go to that link. And yeah, sweet. Brandon has registered, extremely excited, also from Oklahoma. Sweet. Brandon, are you going to be going in person to any of these, or are you going to be watching remotely? And what's everybody else doing? I'm curious what plans folks have, because I am very, very excited. We're driving up to Wyoming. Really looking forward to seeing a bunch of the different stake pool operators and a lot of the core members like Charles and all those folks. So it should be really, really cool. Okay. So Everett is joining us from the ink blank dark Netherlands. Oh man. Well, thanks for joining us late at night. We really appreciate you coming out. Kelly was asking, what do you think will be the big announcements at the summit? I have no idea. I mean, so Charles has hinted, I don't know if it was Charles or who it was, has hinted at some big partnerships. So we'll see what those are. If they're partnerships with big companies or if they're partnerships with nation states. You know, I think either makes sense, but the latter, I think, would probably be more sort of on brand on what they've done in the past and with the things that Charles has talked about, where adoption is not just about getting other tech people involved, but about getting whole countries on board. So we'll see. Maybe it's a mix of the two. In terms of the types of things, technology things they're going to talk about, I'm not sure that it wouldn't qualify as like a big announcement, but I know for sure that they're going to be talking about, where was I here? They're going to be talking a lot more about Hydra and Mithril, and then so how do we scale from here? Because if we remember, let me actually pull up the Cardano Road Map. Let me do 1 second. So if we pull up the Cardano Road Map, let's move this over here. if we remember, right, so in our main eras here, great, we can still see this pretty well. Cool. So if we look at our main eras here, right, we see that Byron is where everything first got launched. Shelley was where proof of stake was released. Goguen was multi-asset and smart contracts. And so now, for a lot of people, I think, for most people that are only sort of following in a very cursory level, they would think, okay, cool, that's it, and we're done, right? But there's a lot more from there, right? The plan now is there's still 2 full other eras. And there's Basho, which is all about scaling, and then Voltaire, which is governance. So if we think about these 2 major eras that we're not like fully into yet, then it's like, okay, so what are the things that still need to happen there? For scaling, it's how do we have, high-speed transactions and the volume, right? And then additionally, how do we also make it that people can have wallets without having to have this huge dataless node? So that's where you're going to hear about Mithril for the light clients and Hydra for scalability. Those are going to be the big things coming out for Basho. And then for Voltaire and governance is where we have Project Catalyst, which we've talked about extensively on this channel. And if anybody has questions about Project Catalyst, we can talk about that as well. We have several playlists on these things. So like we have a whole playlist here for those that are unfamiliar with Project Catalyst, for example, about how you can register for Project Catalyst on your preferred wallet. In this previous weekly report, we dug into what Project Catalyst was. And then here, once you're registered and you kind of know what to look for, how to research projects and how to vote. So like we're well into these 3 eras. We got these other 2 coming up. And so I imagine most of the announcements that we're going to see from a technological standpoint will be how do we continue making smart contract adoption easier? How do we, with Mithril and Hydra, get scaling really up and running? And then with governance, how do we take what's already happening with Project Catalyst, and then how do we keep growing from there till we get to the point where we have a fully self-governing Cardano ecosystem? So these are some of the things that, maybe to your point, Kelly, this is not necessarily big news, right? These are not huge surprises. These are things that we know are coming. But for me personally, and this is just, maybe call it sort of the more conservative way that we think about things on the channel. But for me personally, like, I'm excited about like, okay, let's sort of like, boots in the ground here and rubber meets the road, so to speak. And like, what are the concrete things that we're going to do to deliver on the plan that we have in place? Big announcements are exciting, and they're really good sort of like high energy, rally the troops kind of moments. But I'm personally really excited to hear some really good details on some of these things here and when and how we expect scaling and governance and these things to come together. But yeah, I don't know. Well, what do you guys think some of the announcements are? This actually is a live stream, right? So it's back and forth. So what are some of the things that you guys have heard that might be potential exciting announcements coming up at the conference? I'm curious to see, because while we're all here and we're all sort of sharing in this together, there's 22 of us here together right now. Oh, and I will say this is the first time that I'll jump in and say there is more than 20 of us here hanging out right now and only 6 likes. So if you're enjoying it, do us a favor, give it a thumbs up. It seems trivial, but that thumbs up tells the algorithm you're enjoying it, and it sends it out to more people so that they can also get their questions answered and they can join us and we can all chat together. So if you don't mind doing that, I'd appreciate it. And what are you guys excited about for the conference? What do you think might be talked about? And in sort of like the wider world of crypto, Twitter, and different places like that, what have you guys been hearing about? Let's talk about it. Okay, so we were talking about wallets a little bit earlier. Sky went with Yoroi, very cool. Chomsky, hello, good to see you. All right, let's see. Do we have our sights on any Cardano-based NFTs? So that's a good question. We actually had in our Telegram group, people were recently asking about. We can probably switch off of the roadmap. Let's go back to the summit. This would be a good background to have. Yeah, oh, look at how nice that looks. Perfect. Okay. Personally, like I said, we take more of a conservative approach. I don't know what, like, I don't know. Personally, I'm very like, what's the word? Functionality minded, right? Like I get excited about things like the precedent that Catalyst is setting for self-governance, right? I get excited about for stake pools in the Shelley era that we're in, but Shelley advancements of stake pools being able to do true peer-to-peer discovery, not have to rely on what we call a topology updater that we all reach out to, right? So the NFTs, I think, are a really exciting form of expression and artwork and a lot of cool stuff going on there. But in terms of where NFTs end up landing when the dust settles, that's still a big question mark. And at least personally, me, like I'm not spending any of my hard-earned ADA on NFTs just yet. Now we do know a lot of people are interested in them, and I know that they mentioned that at the Goguen Summit, There are going to be different ways to collect them, and they're giving them away. So absolutely. I mean, and there's some incredible work and incredible artwork being done on them. We've just personally not picked up any yet. Although, because of the fact that they're going to be doing sort of some of these NFT giveaways, like sort of a Pokemon collect them thing, is what we heard at the summit. Probably need to get around to see. I'm going to see if maybe tomorrow we can throw together a video on how people can manage Cardano NFTs. So if they want to participate in that, they can do it. So I don't necessarily have any personal ones that I love. I know Space Buds was a really cool one. There have been some really, really neat ones already. I know Kaizen Crypto is doing a whole batch of releases of NFTs. So there's a lot of really cool ones out there. I mean, there's no shortage of great talent and really cool stuff out there if you're looking to collect NFTs. So nothing against anybody who's doing them. We just don't have any yet. I'm not in a huge rush to collect NFTs yet. But I'm really excited to see where they go and how they build out. Okay, Chomsky. Good question. You're curious if there's any benefits of using Daedalus over other wallets. It downloads the blockchain, but is that really necessary? So I think at the end of the day, what that's going to rely on is what your on a few things, right? So the first thing is, are you using a hardware wallet or a software wallet, right? If we remember, the main difference between Daedalus and Yoroi is not just about that it downloads the entire blockchain on Daedalus, but more than that is what it facilitates when it does that, right? And what it does is that it allows Daedalus to be a fully running Cardano node that verifies all previous transactions and all future transactions, including any ones that you're participating in. It does it on its own, like as if it was any other node, like a stake pool on the network. Whereas Yoroi is just a light front-end client. Like any transactions that you do here in Yoroi, they get sent out to Emergo's servers, and then Emergo's servers are the ones who do the validation of those and then broadcast them to the network. Now, I want to be clear. In both cases, if you're using a software wallet, Daedalus or Yoroi, your private keys never leave the wallet itself. So this is a common confusion that people have with Yoroi. It's not that the Yoroi servers are holding your private keys and your recovery phrase. That never leaves the wallet here on your computer. But the subtle difference is that whereas with Daedalus, it has both the capacity to generate those keys for you and the capacity to validate and verify all transactions itself, the Yoroi wallet creates and manages the keys for you, but it reaches out to Emergo's backend servers for verification of transactions. So if you're doing a software wallet, there is more security with Daedalus because it's doing all of that for you. But if you have a hardware wallet and you're pairing with either Daedalus, Yoroi, or Ada Lite, which we also have pulled up here, then at that point, these three wallets are all just serving as the UI, and all of the actual like keys and things like that are being managed by your device, whether it's a Ledger or a Trezor. The keys live here and never leave here. So for example, when you look at this Ledger Nano X that we have here, let me open this up. This Yoroi Ledger wallet, it's empty right now, obviously, but that's paired with this Ledger here. So any transactions that want to do anything, they're all verified by this Ledger. Yoroi here is only serving just as a UI to let me just click, and send, set up transactions so the Ledger can verify them. So at least it's my opinion, and this is just my opinion, so take it for what it is, and feel free to do additional research on your own. But in my opinion, if you're going the hardware wallet route and you're pairing with Daedalus or Yoroi, the gains of Daedalus from a security standpoint are a lot smaller. It's sort of a diminishing return at that point because all of your keys are managed privately on your hardware wallet anyway. It's not that big of a deal, in our opinion, of Daedalus over Yoroi in that instance. If you're doing a software wallet, I could see where that would be that gain, but otherwise it's not that big of a deal if it's a hardware wallet paired with one of the two. So yeah. Okay. Especially NFTs with functionality like the Cornucopia game. I've not looked into the Cornucopia game. What kind of functionality? So Brock, what kind of functionality does that have? I mean, that being said, I know that NFTs in general have the potential, especially now with smart contracts, to be able to do really interesting things. Like, for example, have perpetual royalties and things like that paid out to the creator. But I've not come across yet, and again, admittedly, I haven't been doing much searching for NFTs, but haven't come across any with any great functionality yet. So yeah, let me know. Let us know a little more about that, the Cornucopia game. Okay. Didn't know about the summits. Thanks for the hands up. Oh yeah, totally. So yeah, so you know, so who's going? We're going. We're going to Wyoming. Was it? Was it? Brian might be joining us. Who here is planning on? I'm curious. Who here is planning on going to one of the in-person meetups, and who's planning on streaming it? I'm really curious to know. Comic Slap, late, but you're going in now. Sweet. Well, welcome. Glad to have you. Let's see. For the summit, Army of Spies theorize about an identity deal with Wyoming. Cool, yeah. Army of Spies is a fantastic channel. We check them out on most days. I mean, I don't know how he keeps up. I don't know how he puts out content every day. Mad props to him. You know, we do stuff once a week, and it's a lot to try and do every day. There was some talk about Singapore. Cool, yeah. So you know, just like it, you know, going on at least these two rumors, right? Wyoming and Singapore, more about nation states or actual, like, you know, states in the United States or whatever else. So that kind of makes sense. It's the kind of thing that I would expect when we're thinking about what announcements might be coming out. That's kind of what I would expect, that we're going to see things about partnerships with, you know, political organizations like a government or a state or something like that. It seems to have been more of the focus of the IOHK team than actual companies. Is the virtual worlds we've seen recently, like the Turtle World, accessible? So Craig, my understanding is that the Turtle World will be, like that and the other worlds, will be part of the virtual world that you can explore at the summit. So if you guys remember, like during the lockdown, when, you know, like happy hours and things like that were, you know, people were doing happy hours and like virtual, like happy hours, like not just with like Zoom or whatever, but you can actually do some of these virtual meeting places where you have like little people walking around, and you can send your guy to like a different room or a different bar, and there's other people there, and that's how you would be able to like get into different conversations with people or whatever else. My understanding is that in order to facilitate this sort of like, hey, everybody in the world coming together, even though we're all joining from different places, my understanding is that Turtle World that you saw, and then a few others, are all going to be virtual environments that you can explore during the summit to interact with other people that are also in the summit. So that's kind of, I think, the idea there. Kelly, hoping there will be a slew of projects launching with smart contracts implemented. Just showed there's progress development. After all, they've had forever and a day to implement. Well, so this is a great point, or rather, I'm glad you brought this up. Let me take a sip of water, and then we'll talk about this. So, smart contracts are out now, right? And yes, we can say that the developers have had forever and a day to implement different things to launch on them. But let's not forget, this is exactly what we talked about in our most recent weekly report. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend you check it out. Let me copy the link to this. So this, for Kelly, is smart contracts now what weekly report. If you haven't seen this one already, check this one out. So this is basically what we talk about here, where is that, yeah, smart contracts are out now, but now what do we do? And so even though, you know, with the Plutus Pioneers program and stuff like that, developers have had a while now to be able to get their smart contracts up and running. Let's not forget, with the diagram that I was showing a little bit earlier with this guy, let's not forget that of all of the different pieces that they plan on releasing, you see, yeah, okay, great, you see all of it, perfect. Of all the different pieces they're planning on releasing, we still have all of this other stuff that needs to be built out, including the Plutus application backend, which is going to make the execution of smart contracts much easier. So while smart contracts can be run right now, I would say it's probably only the most like aggressive in terms of like, let's get in there immediately development teams that have stuff running right now. I think what we'll see is over time and like exponential growth of the contracts that we see launched and the involvement of people on the Cardano blockchain for smart contracts, just as the ability to release those things gets easier. So like if you were to write smart contracts right now, it's all very, very low level, like literally like command line, you know, entries. I think over the coming weeks and months, it's going to get dramatically easier for people to launch smart contracts, and also for the level of complexity that those contracts can be. And so let's wait and watch for that. I think that the adoption curve will really, really pick up. But I wouldn't put too harsh of a judgment yet on other development teams on their ability to launch things yet. This is very, very, very early days, but still super exciting, but it's very early days. Cool, 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 cool. Oh, cool. When CNFT to tell you what Cardano NFTs are dropping. Sweet. And Chomsky, if you got a link for that, please share. All right, Brian, you're going. Well, hey, we'll see you there. Make sure you find us and say hello. So the funny thing about these live streams is that you know what I look like, right? But unless you're wearing a sign that says I'm Brian McGill, I won't know it's you. So stop by and say hello while you're there. That'll be really cool. Wanted to go to the Miami location. Have a busy weekend. Can't wait to watch the summaries on this channel once we get back. Yeah, so about that, we normally do our weekly reports on Sundays, but the conference is this Saturday and Sunday, the 25th and 26th. So realistically, what'll probably happen is like the conference will wrap up on Sunday, probably get to Colorado sometime on like Monday, and then we'll get a weekly report, probably released on Monday, but at some point on Monday. So it'll be a day late for those that are waiting for the sort of the recap of everything that went on there. Cool. So we're about halfway in. We got 25 people with us right now, 16 likes. If you're enjoying it, give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. Let's get it out to more people. The algorithm will send it out to more people if we get more thumbs up. And then we can answer other people's questions for the last half hour that we're here. We'll go for about another 30 minutes. And if you know somebody that has questions that they want answered on anything, blockchain, Cardano, whatever, share the link and let's get your friends in here. We'll chat with them too. Okay. What's new? I'm going to subscribe to the channel and make sure you're not late a lot. Well, hey, you know what? Patchies, you still made it. So yeah, thanks for the subscription. Appreciate it. And welcome. So cool. For everybody that's here, we've been talking a lot about the summit this whole time. But what else are you guys curious about? What other questions do you guys have? And you know, a lot of times in the past, we've talked about things from wallets, one wallet over the other, to you know, proof of work versus proof of stake. What are some of the, Project Catalyst. So really, we're happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Let us know what questions you have. The whole idea of this is to be a back and forth. So if we don't have a lot of questions, we can cut it short. We usually end up it ends up like usually filling out with questions and we run the full hour, but that's okay. If we run a little short today, then that's fine. But we'll keep going as long as you guys have questions and things that you want to chat about. So let us know what you're curious about. In the meantime, what I will go over, something that we usually try and cover, is here in our playlists section. Let me go back here. Let's go to playlists. So for those of you that are joining us that are brand new, I do want to point out a couple of playlists that we have that I think are very helpful. If you just somehow this came across your YouTube feed and you don't know anything about how to even get yourself some ADA, this playlist here, wait, no, that's not the right one. It's this one. This playlist here on exchanges is a good playlist for you to get started that'll help you think through finding the right crypto exchange for you, how to fund your account, 2 different ways that you can buy your crypto either instantly or setting specific levels, and then how to take that crypto off of the exchange onto your wallet, right? Then from there, once you're all set and you've bought this stuff, then this getting started guide that we have, and all of these, by the way, are if you just come to our channel, go to playlists, these are all right here. But the getting started guide, if you have a hardware wallet like a Ledger, how to get that set up and to the point where you're ready to install your Cardano wallet. Then here, comparing Daedalus, Yoroi, and Adalite and see which is the right one for you. The most common one when you're pairing with a hardware wallet is Yoroi. So we show that one next in the playlist. How to get Yoroi installed, how to pair it with your Ledger, and then from there, how to find your favorite stake pool and delegate to them. If you're curious about what might be the right stake pool for you and how to find one, we have this video on selecting a Cardano stake pool using Pool Tool, and then a couple of other things to get you up to speed on the Cardano delegation cycle. From when you delegate, how long is it going to be until you start getting rewards, and how does that timeline play out? And then some of the other most common questions that we've got. So for those that are like brand new, or if you're, maybe been around for a little while, but your stuff is still sitting on the exchange, this playlist should be able to get you up and running. So let me share this with you guys as well. This is our getting started playlist. Cool. Sweet. So that's there. Oh, the other thing too is if you have not seen our, let me do this. On our website, we actually added a new tool to the website. So for folks that join, they delegate, and then later on, let me get this bigger here, and we'll put you here. Cool. So for those that join us, if you see, for example, like a particular epoch that something pays out, let me go here to epochs. Come on, here we go. Let's give this a second to pull up. Cool. So let's say, for example, you're like, oh, okay, Epic 291, right? There was, you know, we got a payout here, and you want to know how, or rather, if you were included in that one. You can come to this. It's a new tool that we added to the site. Go to woodlandpools.net and tools. We have the, well, so I guess for those of you that aren't familiar with the tools on our page, we've got the Epic Rewards Estimator. If you come here, you can put a pool like ours or any other. You can search for any pool. Put how much you're planning on delegating. And then if you click on calculate, it'll give you an estimate of what kind of rewards to expect, and it breaks them all down. And you can also select different epics to see what the different payouts were like for these different epics. And you can compare different pools to each other. So that's a really cool tool that our co-operator of the pool put together that you can check out. Then there's also the rewards payout date estimator, where you can say, okay, if I started staking with ASPEN or any other pool today on the 22nd, then when would I expect, let me hide you for a second here so we can see this. There we go. When would you be able to expect a payout of your rewards? And it kind of walks you through each epic and what's happening in each epic. And then the newest tool that we just added is the reverse payout calculator. So for this one, if you say, okay, I know that there were payouts just now in Epic 291, it walks you through, okay, if there were payouts in 291, here's when you need to have delegated by on August 28th on Epic 287 to be able to get payouts in 291. So some cool little tools here that you can use that can help you sort of get up and running if you have any questions about that stuff. So yeah, cool. Yeah, so there you go. Welcome to the channel. Okay, in our crystal ball, what will be the first DApp or DEX on Cardano? Will it be this year? Yeah, I mean, so we'll see, right? Like, we're waiting to see, like we always say, like waiting for sort of the dust to settle and see who actually delivers on the different things that they're saying they're going to build. But not endorsing any particular project and not saying this one's going to make it or this one won't. But definitely one of the most active ones has been Sunday Swap, and they've also been getting a lot of attention, and they've been interfacing back and forth with the community a lot. So I wouldn't be surprised. And this year, I mean, yeah, like we're in September. I think this year will be cutting it close, but I would expect Sunday Swap to be one of the early ones who's actually up and running and doing stuff. So we'll have to like wait and see. Yeah, that sucks. So this is a thing that we've seen over and over and over again. And I'm so glad that you brought this up, Sky. So let me find this video real quick. So we did a whole video on this. We've actually done multiple videos on this, but our most recent one was, where'd it go? Our scam one. Here we go. This scam alert here. Exactly like you're talking about, Sky. We've been seeing so many of these, and now that smart contracts are out, we're gonna see even more. So this is our scam alert video. If you guys haven't seen this video, check it out. And if you have friends that are new to the space, maybe share it with them and get them to watch it, because there's a lot of different ways that they try and be clever and get between you and your ADA and just like steal your crypto, and it really, really sucks. And yeah, a classic one that you'll see is that, right, where you can, I mean, I wonder if we could even like find one. Let's just see. Let's do Cardano. Let's just see what pops up when we do Cardano here. There's any, there's no, I don't see any live ones. Oh, here we go. Here's one. This is it right here. That's exactly what they look like. So this is exactly what Sky's talking about. So what happens here is you can see, I don't know what this little hamster is, but see if I can go back. They're just showing Vitalik picking his nose. I don't know why it won't let me go back. Oh, it doesn't let you do a replay. But anyways, what they're doing is here is that they'll take a channel, they'll hack it, and then what they'll do is that they'll change the channel's name to something like Cardano to make it seem official. And then they'll say, oh, Charles said we expect it to be blah, 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 right? And yeah, and it's just a scam. It's like so basically the sequence of events is someone's channel gets hacked, they change the name of the channel, then they take a video of something else and they put an overlay over the top of it, and they make it seem like it's Charles or somebody else talking, and then they try and get you to like send them your ADA it really, really sucks. So this one, it seems like a less sophisticated one. They're kind of just goofing around. But what you usually see is, actually I think, an example here. Let me see if I can find it. I thought I had one here. Well, that's all right. I don't think I have one handy, but yeah, it really, really sucks. And they're all over the place. So yeah, it's a huge bummer. And so if you haven't seen that video, when we sort of like cover the different scams that are going on, check that video out, share it with your friends, get them educated. It really sucks. Okay. When a token that is being ran by Cardano, like AGIX, how does Cardano benefit? So what do you mean by that? Well, so in the broadest sense, right? Like, the more usage that the Cardano platform gets, then, well, one, the more attention gets drawn to it. For those that are focusing on price, then the more speculation people do, and like, the price of ADA goes up. But specifically for those of us that are, on the network, either running a stake pool or delegating to a stake pool or whatever else, the simplest benefit that all of us get in the Cardano ecosystem when coins like AGIX or whatever else are moved over, and then when smart contracts come along, smart contracts are here, but when the adoption of smart contracts picks up, is that all these different interactions that happen as the volume of transactions goes up, every one of them has a transaction fee that they pay, and that goes to the treasury, and that's where rewards come from for proof of stake, right? So if you think about it, the stake pools like ours or any other, and delegators like yourselves to our pool or any other, are setting up these pools for validation. When the transactions are sent through, the pools validate those transactions, and then parts of those transactions that the pool validated, the fees there go to the treasury. Then it's paid out to those pools, sort of like a thank you for doing that work. And therefore, the more transactions that happen, the more that goes to the treasury, and the more rewards that are available to be paid out in the long term to the different pools. Because the way that Shelley was kicked off with proof of stake was that there was sort of a bootstrapping fund into the treasury, where money was just set aside there. But that bootstrap set of funds goes down every epoch, right? Because that's not being replenished by sort of the initial like faucet, if you will. What is being replenished by is transaction volume and fees. So whereas the initial bootstrapped amount is going down, the idea to supplement that is the transaction volume and the fees that are charged, so that eventually you would have all the payouts would be coming from the self-sustaining ecosystem itself of what it's charging for the usage and the adoption. So that's the goal of getting all these different projects to move over, is to be able to actually be able to have these fees charged at scale, even if they're small fees. Think of it that way, right? Like, even if these fees are small, and the idea of like bringing people over is the promise of lower and more predictable fees. But if you've got volume, then it works itself out, and then you've got your stake pool operators and your delegators, and everyone's happy, right? The people sending the transactions don't have to pay much, but there's such a large volume that your delegators and your pools get rewards for it. So yeah, so that's the idea. Oh, so back to when we were talking about wallets, Ledger X and Yoroi work smoothly. Yeah, I've had no problems with Ledger and Yoroi. It's been good. Okay, what are your thoughts about splitting investments across multiple hardware wallets to lower risk? I guess, like, the thing is, keep in mind that, like, at the end of the day, you have your recovery phrase, right? So I don't know if there's not much of a benefit of splitting your investments between different hardware wallets. I think what would probably be a recommended thing to do is potentially to have a backup hardware wallet that you could have as a clone of the one that you're using, so that if your main one is lost or stolen, then you can immediately use that backup to send the funds to a safe location. And by safe, I mean like somewhere that you can just temporarily store them. Like, you could take all of your funds off the wallet, send it to an exchange somewhere, and hold it there. Then what you could do is you take that backup one that you have that was a clone of the other, the one that you got lost or stolen. You can take that backup one. Once the funds are all safely removed, you can wipe it and set it up again as a brand new device. And now your two are not linked in any way anymore, because this one is off of recovery, phrase A, and then your backup has now been set up with recovery phrase B. So they're totally different now. And then once you've got this one set up with brand new recovery phrase, brand new sets of keys, then you can send the funds back from the exchange to your newly created wallet. And the benefit of having that one initially being cloned from the other one is that you can very quickly take action on it while your other one is being, taken wherever it got lost to. Now, but that, that's all assuming that what was stolen was the wallet and not your recovery phrase. If your recovery phrase is stolen, then that's a trickier situation, because then anybody can restore that recovery phrase, and if they get to take action on it before you do, they can just steal your funds, right? I suppose you could keep it between two different hardware wallets. I think that's the kind of thing that would be more of a concern if you were like a huge whale, and you wanted to like also keep them in physically different locations. I know people that have like a lot of ADA or a lot of crypto. We're talking about like, multiple millions or tens of millions. They might do that just, for redundancy, not redundancy, but just sort of like to not have all their eggs in one basket. But I think for most of us, just getting it on a hardware wallet is pretty safe. Have a backup of that hardware wallet if you'd like. But the biggest thing, honestly, it's like when like, these different, like when you see about like hacks for all these different companies or servers or whatever else, right? The majority of the time, it's not that like some like hacker in a robe somewhere, like actually like, brute force penetrated into this server. It's usually something else. Like an email was sent that somebody clicked on and they passed along a username and password. And then from there, they were able to get someone else's, or it's somebody that like works there, like a contractor or something like that. So similarly for yourself, instead of maybe worrying about, and I'm not suggesting this is what you're doing, but instead of worrying about like the security of the device, and maybe I should have multiple devices, once you've got the security of the device, you already have yourself a hardware wallet. Like once you have that, then start worrying about, okay, so now the weakest link in this chain is probably me, right? So how do I now sort of try and keep up with the security of my hardware wallet with my own best practices, like not letting anybody know where I'm even keeping my recovery phrases, and definitely not letting anybody see them. Only having my hardware wallet around when I really need it, having a backup hardware wallet if you choose to do that. So things like that where you're lowering the risk that anybody would get access to these things to begin with, so that you don't have to rely on the security of the wallet solely. So something to maybe think about there. Cool. So we're going to go run under 15 minutes or so. Let us know what other questions you have. We have a few more here that we're going to answer. We're about 19 likes. Give it a couple more thumbs up if you guys don't mind. We'll do a few more questions here. We'll go for another 10, 15 minutes, and we'll go from there. So let me get some water, and yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's so funny. I didn't see this comment when we were talking before. Yeah, the $5 wrench attack. Yeah, so for those that aren't familiar with the $5 wrench attack, it's a good little comic, right? Where you've got, that's exactly, I'm so glad you said that, Ian, because it's exactly what I was talking about. You've got engineers that a lot of times are like really like so in their own heads about like, how do I prevent this from happening, and like all this like above and beyond security, and like, will this firewall and this thing, whatever else, and blah, blah, blah. And then there's always the $5 wrench attack instead, which is somebody goes to a hardware store, buys a $5 wrench, clubs you over the head with it, and just takes your hardware wallet, right? So anyway, funny little comic there about physical security. But so aside from a $5 wrench attack, how much security would you get from placing half your funds on a wallet backed by Ledger, another half backed by Trezor? So yeah, it's kind of what I was talking about before. I didn't see your $5 wrench attack comment, but same answer as what I was saying before. It's up to you. If you have a huge amount of crypto funds, then yeah, maybe. But if not, worry more about the wrench attack and less about where you're placing them. Like worry about how you keep yourself from being a target in the first place, and then go from there. Seems like I got a fan of Sunday Swap. Cool. All right, sweet. Yeah, Brian, look forward to seeing you as well. Yeah, it should be a really good time. So make sure you say hello, and we'll chat while we're there. Reef. I'm considering staking my ADA for the first time, but is it really worth it for me if I have like 200? Should I accumulate more first? Well, that's up to you. So figure that in a year, the average return on stake in a year is about 5%. So for your 200 ADA, in a year, you'd make about 10 ADA. And then what it would cost you to do that would be the network transaction fee to take it off of the exchange, which would be like 0.17, let's call it 0.2 ADA. Then another, call it 0.2 ADA to delegate to a stake pool. And then there's also a one-time registration deposit, which you could get back if you wanted of 2 ADA. But let's just assume you don't ever get that back. That would be roughly 2.4 ADA to get yourself fully up and running and staking. And then by the end of the year, you would expect about 10 ADA back in rewards. So net on the year, in your first year, you're already net positive about 8.5 ADA. And then from there, if you change nothing else, you have roughly, the 10 ADA per year compounding, right? Because you're compounding interest there as well. Not to mention that once you've delegated, there's nothing more that you need to do with the additional funds, nothing special about them. Anytime that if you're doing a dollar cost average plan or whatever else, at any point when you buy any more ADA, all you do is literally like in your wallet, you just come to your receive section of your wallet and then you just send the funds to your address. Like for example, let me show you a perfect example. This dataless port is a video we showed how to go from dataless to Yoroi. Has 90 ADA in it, right? It's delegated to our ASPEN stake pool right now. And so with this 90 ADA that I have right here, if I wanted to up my delegation, all I would need to do is just buy some more on the exchange and just send it to one of my addresses in my receive section here. And that's all I need to do because of the fact that this wallet is already delegated. Any funds I send over are automatically also delegated as well. So yeah, like in my personal opinion, sort of think through it and decide for yourself. My personal opinion, like if you know that you're planning on sticking around for a while and you're not planning on trying to be super active, like back and forth, day in, day out, I don't see any good reason not to. And also from a mental standpoint, if you think you're planning on doing it long term, getting it sent over to your wallet and getting it off of the exchange, I think adds a nice little mental barrier of like, okay, this is now removed from the exchange, the fast buy and sell place, and I'm moving it to my cold storage on my hardware wallet or my software wallet, and I'm delegating it, and it's just like in a different account, like a different bank account that I'm not even touching, right? And then you can just add to it or not, and yeah, you'll be net positive at the end of the first year, or at least you should be. And then from there, anytime you add to it, that'll keep adding to it. So I would just say, yeah, why not? But, think about it and it's up to you. So, okay. One of the exchanges used will not let you withdraw ADA. What's the best way to go? Oh, man, that is the worst. I ran into this problem where I had a close friend who bought some ADA on Uphold. And I think it's like borderline criminal. They let you buy it, but they don't let you withdraw it, which is super frustrating. So I had to do this whole roundabout thing where like converting it to a different currency, like, I don't know. So it really just like at the end of the day, like what you're going to need to do if you want to get it out is you're going to need to then like convert that ADA to a different currency like Bitcoin or whatever else, or Ethereum or something else. Then you're going to need to transfer that from that exchange to another one that does allow sending ADA off. Like I know Coinbase does, all the major ones do, like Coinbase, Bittrex, Kraken, like all of these do. So you would send it there, and then you would take your Bitcoin or Ethereum that you'd like translated it to, that you'd swapped it for on your first one, and then you would use that to then buy your ADA back, and then you would send your ADA off of the exchange to your wallet. But keep in mind, and this is what I think is so frustrating about that situation that they put you in, is keep in mind that every one of those transactions, this is for Sky, crypto taxes explained. For every one of those transactions, when you go, let's say you did it to Ethereum or Bitcoin, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you go from ADA to Bitcoin, at least in the United States, that's considered a taxable event, going from ADA to Bitcoin. And then when you go to the exchange and you go back from Bitcoin to ADA again, that's also a taxable event. Now, that second one, the taxes will be negligible because you had just bought that Bitcoin and then you sold it right back. So it's going to be roughly the exact same price. But potentially when you sell your ADA to go to Bitcoin, to send it to the other exchange, whatever the price you bought your ADA at, and then whatever the price of ADA is now when you do that swap, at least in the United States, the US government, the IRS, will view that jump in price of ADA as if you had taken your ADA that you bought at, let's just say at $1, and then today it was at $2.20 or whatever, and if today you switched it to Bitcoin, the US government would see that $1 to $2.20, that $1.20 gain, they would see it like as if you're selling your ADA to dollars, then using your dollars to buy Bitcoin. So that would be treated as a taxable transaction. That's our understanding of it. This is not tax advice here. Let me do I have a disclaimer? Here we go. Not financial advice. Follow your own plan. Speak with a tax professional to be sure. But that's our understanding that would be a taxable event, which sucks that they put you in that situation. But you're going to have to consider all these different things and see what you do, or do you just wait out this exchange to get it off? Yeah, that sucks. I think it's like super disingenuous. I think borderline criminal. They like tell you, oh, come here and buy this thing, but then give you no way to get it off. That really sucks. So I'm sorry that you're in that situation. I have personal friends that have been in that situation, and I was equally frustrated when I was helping them through it. So anyway, yeah. Okay, let's do some rapid fire questions here because we're running out of time. I wouldn't want to just, you wouldn't want just stake. When you accumulate more, you stake them also. Yeah, exactly. So all you need to do is just send it over and then you're good to go. Oh, I see. Sorry. This is, yeah, sorry. So Everett was, oh yeah. And hey, Everett, how's it going? Everett's one of the dudes in our Telegram group. Good to see you. So yeah, yep. So yeah, get it, send it over. Exactly, when you don't stake, you don't get anything. So if you figure that if you're gonna do it for at least a year, you know that you'll be net positive by doing it anyways when you switch it over. So cool. Thoughts on AVAX and Avalanche and Solana? The amount of money putting in their platform makes Cardano significant right now. 2022 will be Cardano's time. I don't necessarily agree with that statement. Let's do let's look at Coin. I haven't even looked at like CoinGecko in a while. Yeah, so let's not forget, right, that that Cardano is still number 3 in terms of market cap. Forget what the price tag is. Look at the market cap. Cardano is still number 3 in terms of market cap, and it's gone up. Like if you look at pull up some charts, which I'm not going to do, but really pull up some charts. Like in the past like 2 years, it's gone up like 100x. So like, you know, if you were buying ADA a year and a half ago when it was like 2 and 3 cents, you're pretty happy with yourself. Like people have sometimes, and I'm suggesting you, but like in general, the market has kind of a short-term memory for these kind of things. Where like, oh, why isn't ADA doing anything? Like, let's not forget that at the start of the pandemic, even just like March of 2020, ADA was trading at like I think less than a cent for a little bit there, and then it was hovering between 2 and 5 cents for weeks. So it's been quite a run that it's been on. You know. So if like just right now, like Avalanche and Solana are on a run, like that's cool, like good for them. ADA has already been on like a ridiculous run to get us to this point. But regardless, like for us, we're just kind of focusing on like all the stuff that we normally talk about, like the fundamentals and stuff moving forward. I think that Avalanche and Solana seem like cool projects. My thoughts on them are similar to thoughts on how I approach Cardano, where I'm more interested in looking at what their fundamentals are than what the market is happening to speculate on them at any given time. Because it's one of those things where like, at the end of the day, right, we're all like investing in this. And at the end of the day, we all hope to cash in on that investment in one way or another, right? Whether you're a purist and you believe that I don't ever want fiat currency again and I want to accumulate as much ADA as possible so I can do transactions purely based in ADA for the rest of my life. That's, you know, one camp. And then the polar opposite camp is like, well, I think that this crypto thing is just a way for me to make money. So I want to like buy things when they're cheap and sell them when they're up or whatever. But regardless of where you stand sort of on that spectrum, regardless, you know, the way that we would approach it personally, again, not financial advice, is that like just find a project you believe in, get in there for the long haul, and whether you're holding onto those coins forever and you never get rid of them, or you're planning on cashing them out back to fiat, or you're somewhere in between, the longer and more patient you can be, generally speaking, the better off you're going to be. So if you like Avalanche or Solana, then, you know, maybe not right now because they're blowing up, but like slowly start dollar cost averaging into them over time and start accumulating positions in those projects. But don't worry so much about what happens day to day or week to week. Like that's how you kind of get thrashed around in this market. Instead, you want to be the person who was buying Cardano a year and a half ago, right? And if you feel like, well, I can't use a time machine, I can't go back in time, then be the person who is buying Cardano at, you know, $2 or $3. And yeah, who knows, maybe tomorrow it crashes down to $1, but you don't care because you're just slowly buying it because you're confident that it will continue going up over time, and don't even worry about it so much. Again, like I said before, right? Not financial advice, follow your own plan, and never, ever invest more money than you're willing or able to lose, because that's how you make emotional decisions, right? So just kind of like make a plan, stick to that plan. And actually, since we're talking so much about plans, we have a video specifically on this topic. This is about making a plan. And let me do, we'll do a shout out for you here, Lester. This is how to make a plan. Or let's making a plan. There you go. So that video on how to make a plan, you know, and that, so we say like, you know, how to succeed in any market state, because the idea is that like, whether the market's going up or down, if you have a long time horizon and you know what you're doing and you sort of take your time and you set your triggers and you only act based on those triggers being hit versus based out of your own emotion, generally speaking, it will work out because you're just take your time. You're not rushing and selling out of fear when it's crashing down. You're not being super greedy and buying when it's on its way up. You're doing the opposite in those situations and you're taking your time. So find a project you like and then just kind of go from there. All right, we're running out of time here. We've got a few questions here, so let's try and get through them and then we'll wrap up. So while I'm doing that, give us some likes if you don't mind here. Hello from Stockton, California. Dragon's, good to see you. Dragon's relatively new subscriber to our channel. Good to see you on another live stream. Thanks for joining us. Zdravko. I've staked some ADA with Yoroi. Does it make sense to move to a hardware wallet now and then restake it? Is there an easy process for that? Yeah, great question. I would recommend, personally, I would recommend here, let me take this disclaimer off. We don't need that anymore. I would recommend, personally, hardware wallets, in our opinion, are the way to go. They are a lot more secure than a software wallet. Software wallet's still better than being on the exchange. But if you have the money and ability to do so, I'd highly recommend getting a hardware wallet. I think it's the way to go. And then, yeah, what you would do is, here, let me find this video for you. Here we go. So this here, we've got a video on comparing Ledger and Trezor. So this is for Zdravko. Comparing Ledger and Trezor. Cool. So find which one you prefer, and then I recommend getting one of the two. And then, yeah, it's really, really simple. What you would do is you would come to Yoroi. So actually, I could show you. So here you can see here, we have a software wallet here, like let's say this one. And then here we have actually this Ledger paired here for this Ledger Nano X. Let's say I was in your situation and I had come and I had this software wallet. And so I've just set up this Ledger. I'll come here, I'll go to receive. I'll get one of the addresses from the receive section here. I'll come back to my software wallet. And then I'll go to the send section and I'll just paste in the receiver address that I had copied and I send it over and then that's it. And then what you'll want to do is you'll also want to make sure that you withdraw your rewards. Right now, this is a thing going on with Yoroi right now. With the protocol update to Alonzo, they're still working through their rewards withdrawal process. But yeah, I would recommend that. Like at the end of the day, like you're going to have to redelegate to your pool and you're going to have to wait that 15 to 20 days for the lag again. But if you think about it, like our opinion, at least in the long run, sort of the long term, another like 3 or 4 weeks, if you're planning on doing this for multiple years, is really not a big price to pay. And you can feel much more confident that your keys never leave this physical device and that you don't have to worry about anything about your computer or anything like that. So yeah, I'd recommend it. We've had a lot of people that have watched our videos and have joined our different channels. We have a lot of people that have gone through exactly this process, and that's just kind of how you do it. Is just send it from one to the other. All right, let's do a couple more here. Oh yeah, good to go. You don't have to delegate multiple times. Yep, exactly. So then once you are set up, send it over and you're good to go. Any idea when the rewards will be recalculated? So I think you're referring to this guy here. There was a tweet by the Emergo team very recently on this for P. Let me find, let's see, Yoroi wallet. They had just tweeted about this. We actually shared this in our Telegram group as well. But let me find you this guy. They just made an announcement about this, that they are working on an update. Update. Here we go. So here you go. Pena. Well, it's not letting me tag you, but here you go. So this is a Yoroi wallet update from them. They're working on it. They're hopefully doing it in the next week or so. All right. Learn the hard way. They really have to do some research on a specific wallet and exchange to learn about withdrawal minimums and their fees. Yep, totally. Drog, you're delegated to us. Really appreciate it. Cool. Well, hey, you know what? That just puts us past 5 o'clock. Really appreciate everybody that came out and joined us today. That's probably a good one to end on. I really appreciate you delegating with us and being with us. Let's switch over to your full screen to end it up here. Thanks everybody for coming out. It's always a pleasure. We always like having you around. Oh, let's see if I can, let me do this here. Little fancy exit if we can. I'll go here. And then we'll do this. Thanks everybody for coming out to the live stream. Really appreciate you guys being here. Join us in 2 weeks. We'll do this again. And then we will have an update for you all on the Cardano Gogan Summit on this week's weekly report. Expect it on Monday instead of on Sunday because we'll be at the conference on Saturday and Sunday. But really great as always chatting with you guys. Thanks everybody for joining us. Looking forward to doing this again soon. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great night.